Contemporary Muslim intellectuals who reflect on the question of the relationship of Islam and secularization without excluding beforehand the possibility of their compatibility can be distinguished by at least 4 different positions. First, the position of those who, in keeping with the Egyptian Ali Abd al-Razik, believe that Islam, secularism, and secularization can be reconciled. Abd al-Razik set forth his vision in 1925 in a book entitled Islam and the Principles of Rule. He contests in his work the common belief among Muslims that Islam includes religion and state. Abd al-Razik supports his position by stating that A, the Quran contains no real political regulation regarding the organization of the state, and B, the Prophet Muhammad was no statesman as the term is understood by modern political scholars nowadays. Abd al-Razik said, the caliphate and the political formulas used by Muslims are mere human inventions. In mixing religion and politics, according to Abd al-Razik, Muslims do damage to both spheres. The Quran gives Muslims the absolute freedom to set up a state in accordance with intellectual, social, and economic circumstances, using the most appropriate model, taking into consideration the social developments and demands of the time. Al-Ashmawi, already mentioned above, is the present-day follower of the ideas of Abd al-Razik, whom he defends with great verve. The purpose of Al-Ashmawi's approach to the Quran is to gain general acceptance among Muslims of Abd al-Razik's advocated separation of religion and politics. Politics must be free from religion and based on non-religious law. Religion must be released and protected from political meddling, distortion, and corruption. There is enormous criticism of Abd al-Razik and his followers. The following positions 2 and 3 can be understood as an attempt to remain within a frame of reference that is acceptable to Muslims. In contrast, position 4 goes a step further than Abd al-Razik. The second position is taken by Muslim intellectuals who, by making a distinction between normative Islam and historical Islam, defend the stance that the history of Islam has shown that the breach between Islam and secularization can be bridged. Sadiq al-Azm, he's from Syria and born in 1934, and Abdul Karim Soroush, he was born in Iran in 1945, and probably you noticed that I am picking up intellectuals from as many countries as possible. So you really see that I'm not focusing on one country only, but it's a global phenomenon. So Sadiq al-Azm and Abdul Karim Soroush are the representatives of this point of view. Oh, I'm happy again. A well-known statement of al-Azm is, I quote, "The correct answer to the question of whether Islam is capable of secularization is twofold. From the standpoint of dogma, Islam is not capable of secularization. But from an historical standpoint, it is." End of quote. Al-Azm make use of numerous examples to demonstrate how secularization is a part of the daily reality of many realms of the Muslim world in which Muslims live, either consciously or not, and whether they want to or not. Soroush sees secularism, which, it is true, developed in Europe, I quote, as a product of a scientific, non-religious reason, unquote. Yet, he also believes that democracy, freedom, and human rights are desirable and necessary for everyone. Reason now makes clear that Islam and democracy can only be reconciled if Islam is thoroughly secularized. So Rouge explains to his Muslim public that secular governments are not against religion, rather that they do not see it as a basis for their legitimacy. The third position is the position of Muslim intellectuals who are of the opinion that the central point of secularism and secularization is the separation of church and state. Islam has no church, and therefore secularism and secularization do not fit in Muslim societies. In their opinion, what is necessary is for Muslims to accept that there should be a distinction between politics and religion, or, to put it differently, between political practice and religious concepts. Secular political practice, however, should be based on the values and norms that are derived from religious concepts. This view and this type of formulation are characteristic of the Moroccan philosopher Mohammed Abid al-Jabri, who was born in 1936. According to his fellow Moroccan, Fatima Marnisi, the first woman, I had to pick also a woman to correspond to the Venice International University standards, who was born in 1940. According to her, it is because of the argumentation of al-Jabri that many Muslim youth have become reconciled with modern lifestyles and democratic aspirations. Marnisi herself prefers to speak of a convergence of Islam and worldly humanism, rather than of a separation of political practices and religious concepts. Worldly humanism preaches tolerance and freedom of thought, and is not so much an attack on God as an attack on state officials. The worldly humanism of Marnisi is not against religion, but against the state that meddles in religion and manipulates it. Worldly humanism must see to it that democracy not only becomes known as a concept among the Muslim masses, but that its essential elements become familiar, elements such as individual self-determination and freedom of speech. For Marnisi, Islam is the religion of human dignity, which stimulates its adherents to pursue the values of worldly humanism. The well-known human rights advocate Abdullahi Ahmed al-Naim was born in the Sudan in 1946, and this photograph is a photograph when he became a doctor honoris causa at the University of Louvain. And I met Abdullahi Ahmed al-Naim 2 times, and everything, when he has to do something officially, he's a professor at the Georgetown University in Washington, and he's always dressed like I am dressed now. But when he has to do something officially, always wears his Sudanese outfit. So that's why he has his Sudanese turban and his Sudanese jalaba on this picture. Within a few minutes, you will see his other outfit. Yeah? So, Abdullahi Ahmed al-Naim doubts whether Islam can be reconciled with Western secularism and Western secularization. They are not in keeping with the culture and religious values of Islam, and thus lack the necessary culture-religious legitimacy. Furthermore, secularism and secularization bear the odium of colonialism and post-colonial Western hegemony. Consequently, secularism and secularization are not the appropriate alternative for the structure of Muslim society. Change is possible, however, if Muslims see that the Sharia does not represent the immediate and immutable will of God.